name is Madison, and welcome to House of Harmony. If this is your first time to my channel or watching one of my videos, I send you a very warm welcome, and I'm so glad you're deciding to explore spirituality or music or anything else that I like to express myself through. So today I want to talk about what spirituality, but more specifically what the spiritual journey is and isn't. And I think this is really going to bring a lot of clarification to those of you who are just starting an awakening process, and maybe for those of you who feel like you're at a place where you're stuck, or you feel like maybe I'm doing something wrong, or maybe I'm just not getting it, maybe I'm not good enough, which is never the case anyways. So with that being said, I want to start off with what the spiritual journey isn't. First of all, the spiritual journey is not linear. So there isn't like a giant spirituality checklist with these boxes and these lists of tasks that you need to accomplish, and once you have that experience and you make the right choice, you just go check, and then that type of experience that holds a particular theme connected to that realization or knowing never pops up into your experience again. That is never the case. The reason why spirituality isn't linear is because it's about this integrative process that you are melding and meshing and bringing together into the wholeness of every aspect of you. And that includes every single realization that you have about yourself and the universe. So you can kind of see it as you're going to have an experience that's going to bring you the opportunity to learn something about yourself. And whether you do or don't, you are still going to have more experiences that may be exploring the same theme, because you might be experiencing it from a different perspective or with different physical parts that are playing particular roles. And so there's infinite ways of exploring a particular theme. So more importantly, as your consciousness elevates, as you remember and know yourself more and know the truths of the universe, some of your truths and realizations may actually feel conflicting, and that's because this concept of right and wrong does not exist. Which brings me to my second point of what spirituality, the spiritual journey, is not. The spiritual journey does not have one right path, because every soul who is incarnate into this physical experience on this planet is here for an individualized, customized, unique purpose of experience. So they may have to go through particular realizations and experiences that you may deem as less than or unworthy or less spiritual in the sense. And part of our work going along this journey is learning how to honor everyone's individual path. This is essential in getting to the point where we take on this consciousness, this concept that everything is love, everything is imperfection, is in perfection, regardless of how your ego is going to perceive it to be. My third point is the spiritual journey does not have an end. And this is because Source, which is what we all essentially are, is infinite. And therefore, there is no beginning and there really is no end. And in order to really kind of understand this, you have to realize that time is an illusion that is particular to the paradigm we currently live in. And when I say paradigm that we currently live in, we're also learning how to shed this current paradigm that we're living in and taking on more of a non-linear sense of time. So the best way of describing this is that instead of thinking time to be like, here's the beginning of something, the conception, and then here the line is the process, the progression, and this point marks the end or the expiration, the higher truth is that reality kind of exists like within a particular container, and what we as humans perceive time to be, those are just particular points within an actual container. So like think of a circular container, and beginning was only just this concept of one point, and the concept of the end is like this point, and the concept of like the progression and everything, every moment is just a different point within this container, this universe basically. So the illusion of time, in particular to the spiritual journey, is just that, it is an illusion. So when you apply this concept to your consciousness, you may be visiting past things that you believed that you had gotten over, things that you thought, I'm gonna put it on the shelf, and you know, I see the trophy that I successfully achieved this level of consciousness. It doesn't necessarily work like that. So it's about the whole itself and picking different points within this experience for you to have. Number 4 and number 5 are two very, very big ones, and these are ones that you should definitely carry with you throughout your journey. So I'll start with the fourth one. The fourth misconception about the spiritual journey. The spiritual journey is not about trying to use spirituality as an escape from the human experience. I see a lot of people who get very interested and very invested in meditation techniques and we'll say alchemy, and you know, this idea, this concept of self-realization and knowing who you are and having the experience with the absolute, the infinite creator, source, whatever you want to deem it. But they get so entrenched in this idea that there's something better out there, that there's something more beautiful, that there's something that's just better, that's more right than what you are currently here experiencing on this planet. I'll tell you why this is a misconception and why this is not what the spiritual journey is about. If you did not have a purpose, a unique, individualized, custom purpose specific to you, if you did not have a purpose for being incarnated on this planet right now, you would not be here. Because it is so easy for any of us to die. And you got to remember that you yourself here as the human who doesn't necessarily have the knowing of the greater workings of your blueprint and like what your design purpose is for being here, your higher self and your soul is in control of that. You know, the ego doesn't really have any, control in the death aspect or when you are ready to exit this planet. So spirituality should not be a means of you trying to disengage or disconnect with the things that you are experiencing as a human on this planet at this time. Because right now we are going through such a beautiful transformation as a collective, and of course on the individual level. And so you are here to do that work. You are here to, yes, go within and have the inner realization and find these truths and have the energetic experience, to have an experience of, infinite source. But the real work is once you have those experiences, if you have those experiences, It is for you to bring it back here to the present moment, you as a human at this time on planet Earth in this transition into the fifth dimension, fourth density, to ground that energy into the earth so we can all have access to that energy and eventually complete the ascension process. So you don't do anyone else, including yourself, most importantly yourself, a service by trying to disengage or disconnect from the outward world, this this elusive thing. Yes, you should definitely disengage for moments and periods of time to really explore what's going on within, because this is an outer reflection of what is going on, and you are the creator of all of this illusion. You are creating this illusion of me being here speaking to you through YouTube, but it's for you to have the realizations you need to have in order to take the expanded consciousness that you are stepping back into and leading by example for everyone else to be inspired to do the same. And number 5, and this one's also the biggest one, and this one sort of relates to number 4, the spiritual journey is not about destroying your ego. Now, for those of you who don't know what the ego is part of your expansive self that believes or knows itself as the illusion of being separate from source, being disconnected from everything, that it's basically like me against the world, or like there is separation from things. Now, for those of you who are quite well versed in the spiritual community, there are a lot of teachers who speak about, this idea of destroying the ego and, dissolving this personality. And that's the only direct path to enlightenment and obtaining this sort of consciousness that is deemed better than anyone else who still has a sense of ego. So let me explain to you why the ego is really important. We as humans, most of us who are incarnated on this planet now, have had many, many lifetimes on planet Earth engaging in a third dimensional experience. So when we incarnate on planet Earth in our past lifetimes, we take on the veil of forgetting our true divine nature, the knowing that we are connected to source, the knowing that we have this sovereignty, this inherent power within us to create the reality that we want. And so we wanted to come to Earth to have that experience, because those experiences would not have been possible had we not had our ego, had we not had the illusion that we were separate from the creation that was surrounding us, our external reality, had we not forgotten that we have these superpowers, these what you would call spiritual gifts within us, had we not, had this belief system that we were just subject to whatever circumstance that we were born in. Because Source's only derivative is to know itself in infinite ways, experiences, and us as stems of Source, we were given free will so we could explore experiences and consciousness and different realities and make the choices that we deemed fit or that we thought right or interesting or whatever the case may be, so we could know ourselves in a different light or a different perspective. So as we track back to this lifetime and we're going through this ascension process, and as we move into this concept of unity consciousness, which I'll talk about later, our job is not to dissolve and destroy this part of us that has been so integral to our experience as a soul. It is part of us, but the work is to not make that seem like that part of ourselves is the entirety of who we are. So to make that a simpler phrase, our work on the spiritual journey is to not destroy or ignore the ego, but to acknowledge it and see that that perspective is a choice that we have made, but that we no longer have to take the perspective of the ego to make our choices based off of what the ego believes as the illusion to be the reality. So now that we've talked about what the spiritual journey isn't, now we get to move to the fun stuff, which is what the spiritual journey is actually all about. Number one, I've already mentioned this. Spiritual journey has no end. We will always be progressing. We will always be exploring different layers of consciousness depending on the particular experiences that we're having right now in the fourth dimension, and as well as we move into the fifth dimension. Yes, things will not be as polarized. This concept of like light and dark will not be as extreme, or this concept, this experience of opposition will not be as visceral and real in a sense, because we will have stepped into a place of elevated consciousness and knowing that we are the creators of our reality, and that we are in a sense more control than we have ever thought ourselves to be. But that being said, it will never end, because source is infinite. There is no beginning, there is no end. There's just different points of presence, of being in the moment within the particular container that we call consciousness, this experience that we're having, that we are all a part of. So the next thing I want to talk about in relationship to what the spiritual journey is about, in relation to what's going on right now, we are going through a beautiful transformation as a collective and on an individual level. As I mentioned before, you can put this in terms of we are moving from a third dimensional paradigm and reality to the fifth dimensional experience. Right now we are in the fourth dimension, which means we are in the transitory state of shedding our third dimensional belief systems, habitual thoughts, choices, programming, all the stuff that we as souls, not just in this lifetime, but in all the lifetimes that we've had in a third dimensional experience, we are shedding all of that stuff that no longer serves us, but more importantly and more frankly, those belief systems and habitual thoughts and patterns and behaviors that hold a particular frequency of vibration and energy that cannot exist, cannot survive in the place that we're going, which is the fifth dimension. So right now, on the individual level, the spiritual journey right now is about going within, seeing what's going on within yourself, not being so distracted with what your external reality is showing you. Yes, your external reality is showing you what is going on within, but the only way you are able to really analyze and contemplate and decipher these things is, okay, acknowledging what I see, the experiences that I'm having, and then going in and asking yourself, why? Why do I feel a particular way about this thing that I'm holding? What are these feelings that are bubbling up? And it's okay for you to not understand where some of these things are coming from, because they may be emotions and traumas and experiences that were not so great that you had from a different lifetime here on planet Earth, and you just don't really have any recollection or true knowing of that experience, true remembering of that experience. So your work is to go within, you know, using meditation, you're using music to tap into yourself and awaken to knowing that you are much more expansive than what is just going on and what you're experiencing with your physical senses. The next point I want to bring up, what the spiritual journey is about, is us as an individual and on the collective level moving into unity consciousness. So what that means is right now we are moving from a solar plexus center activated, super activated, you know, point of experience, energetic experience, and we are moving up into the heart-centered, you can call this the heart energy center, or the heart chakra experience. And this is where unity consciousness comes in. So when you are able to kind of disengage for a moment your external reality, this illusion that it's like me and my body and this is separate from what I'm seeing and that other person over there and that tree and like whatever you are seeing in front of you, feeling, tasting, smelling, touching, whatever. And you are able to go within and feel the subtleties of what's going on, and also start tapping into your belief systems that you're holding and seeing how your belief systems actually are affecting how other people show up in your experience, what their decisions are, what their reactions are, how they interact with you. You start seeing that there's a sense of connection. There's a sense of, all right, this energy that I'm putting out, this perception or this premonition or this intuition that I'm sending out there is actually matching what I'm getting back. And so you start realizing that it's all one. And you can experience this, like I said, on a very experimental level with just, you know, doing inner work, looking and examining your belief systems, your emotions, what they're telling you, and seeing how that correlates with your external reality. Or you can do this on an energetic level. And you can do this through what is called alchemy, how you are actually the creator and manipulator and controller of the energy within your body on, of course, the energetic level and the physical level. You start realizing that as everything else is energy, there is no difference between you being in control of your body and you actually having some sort of manipulative control, creative control, I would say, of your external circumstances, of your external reality. And that's where we start moving into this knowing of this interconnection between all things. And lastly, the last thing I want to talk about, what the spiritual journey is about, is that, as I mentioned in what the spiritual journey isn't about, we are here to take what we learn and this level of consciousness that we are stepping back into, the remembrance of our true divine nature, and integrating that into our experiences, taking that knowing, the knowledge that we have, the wisdom that we have cultivated, that we have tapped into, and taking that into every experience that we have on this planet as a human being right now. Because when you do that, you are actually grounding the light of your, basically your soul, your higher self, into this physical realm. And the energies around you, including the other people, can recognize that. They may not be able to consciously recognize it, but on a subconscious level, your energy is actually elevating all the rest of the energy that is within your circumstance, your environment. So when you choose to be of service to other people in this way, you take on a sense of leadership, leading by example of the type of life, the type of interactions, the beauty and the sense of connection that you want the entire human collective to experience. And that is one of the greatest gifts you can give to your fellow brothers and sisters here on this planet. And that is what I essentially am doing here. I get the biggest pleasure, the greatest joy from sharing the things that I have learned on my own path with others, and really staying grounded in my own truths of what I know in regards to where we are going as a human collective, and my hopes and dreams and my excitement for everyone's journey and what realizations are going to have. I see this as such a beautiful thing, and I just say, like, how could I not want to take the things that I'm learning and the things I'm experiencing and the type of consciousness that I'm able to tap into and share that with the world, because I want everyone else to come with me. I want everyone else to experience and know what I know, to see that yes, we all are connected. Yes, there is the light at the end of the tunnel of all the suffering that people are experiencing on an individual level, and what we are seeing on a national, a human collective level. But it starts at the grassroots. It starts with us doing our individual work. And when we do that, we actually have something honest and truthful and genuine and powerful to share with everyone else. And when you are doing that highest service to others, you essentially are doing that service to yourself, because again, we are all one. So if you made it to the end of this video, I want to thank you so much for listening to this entire thing. I hope you were able to walk away with some really great insight that you can apply to your own journey. And so if you like this video, please press the like button and subscribe down below to see more videos when I actually upload them. And until next time, I love you.